Secret of the Conde Hermanos by Clarissa Bell. Chapter 20. It had been at her Uncle Jerry's funeral, held at the Sarah Retreat in Malibu, that Alice had the privilege of meeting for the first time an old friend of his, of whom he had often made mention, Eduardo Candelas. "Your uncle and I go far back," Eduardo reminisced at the reception, which followed at the Sea Lion restaurant just down the coast from the retreat. All the way back to the touring days of Mancha. He was the orchestral guitarist, and I was the guitarist on stage. Because he had just graduated from the San Francisco Conservatory, I saw fit to take him under my wing. Experienced me. Yes, he mentioned how you went to bat for him during that tour, always with gratitude. Alice, let it be known. Oh, the conductor had it in for Jerry, that's all. Concepcion de San Geronimo was too young and too talented for his taste. He picked on him mercilessly every chance he got, and I simply stood up for the poor kid. Toward the end of the run, though, after just one insult too many, I lost control. I slugged the conductor. "You didn't!" Alice gasped. "Oh, but I did," he said, inhaling through his teeth, shaking his head with the evidently still vivid memory. I was reported, of course, and I was suspended from the musicians' union for 5 years. It was a sorry mess, but I'd do it all again for Jerry. That's probably why my uncle turned his back on music after that tour. He must have felt responsible, Alice said, trying to connect the puzzling dots in her uncle's life. After the tour, he had chosen instead to drive a truck and deliver bread for the Helms Bakery in Culver City, but not before spending 2 vagabond years in Spain in a place called Marón de la Frontera, worshipping at the shrine of the gypsy guitarist Diego del Gastor. "I prefer to think it was because he came to his senses," Eduardo said with a laugh. "Besides, he would never have gone to Spain otherwise and spent all that invaluable time with Diego. He said he studied with him after a fashion," Alice recalled. "Yes, a very surreptitious fashion, for you see, no one studied with Diego. He was a true gitano. He guarded his knowledge possessively. He was not about to divulge any long-held gypsy secrets to a bunch of unkept American payasos. He turned his back on them when he played, so no one ever saw his fingering techniques, and he never even made a recording. In spite of this, or because of this, his playing remains legendary to this day. Fortunately, some scratchy pirate recordings were made without his knowledge, and they are all the world has left of Diego del Gastor." "When was the last time you saw my Uncle Jerry?" Alice wondered aloud. "It was quite by accident, really. A few years later at a rather important concert at Royce Hall." "It wasn't the comeback concert of Alexander the Goya, was it?" Alice asked incredulously. "Why, yes." "How did you know?" Edward asked with squinted eyes. "How could I not? My uncle spoke of nothing else for weekends beforehand, and his will, along with his beloved guitar, he left me a program from that concert inscribed to him personally from Alexander the Goya," Alex explained. "How extraordinary, for that is exactly where I last saw him, backstage with that very same concert when I was there with a student of mine getting an autograph program for her as well." "What a remarkable coincidence," Alice acknowledged as they both could not help but look out the large plate glass windows that ran the length of the entire restaurant, for a storm was indeed brewing at sea. The sky was darkening, and already fierce waves had begun rolling onto shore and throwing themselves threateningly against the brave and sturdy glass windows. The funeral party took their cue and began to disperse as Eduardo Candelas offered Alice a parting word of advice. "Drive slowly. Remember, PCH gets dangerously slick in the rain." "Oh, I know," she assured him. "I grew up there." "Another thing, Alice, hang on to that program. It's probably more valuable than you realize," he added. "I will," she called. Behind her, she turned up the collar, preparing to face the cold wind as she dashed through the parking lot to her car. It was 3 years ago, and taking Eduardo's advice to heart, she had actually locked the program securely in her safe deposit at the bank. So it was with some consternation that she opened the brown paper bag of items retrieved so recently from behind the refrigerator by the maintenance engineer, only to find among the innocuous contents not just a leaky bottle of vanilla extract, several postage stamps and a $5 bill, but also a somewhat damaged frame with a few shards of glass still intact. The document inside was dusty and a bit splattered with vanilla extract. Still, it all appeared to be an albeit distressed, yet fairly decent copy of the very same concert program her Uncle Jerry had left her in his will.